Recording with the one and only Miss Clare Lopez, possibly the most frequent guest on the show. It's between you and my buddy Roger. I'm not sure. It might be you, but for everybody listening, today is Thursday, March 30th, 2023 at 4:24 p.m. Eastern time. And this is whatever it's episode. Who cares? If you're on Rumble, look at the little red button. That's locals. That's Rumble's version of Patreon. If you want to support the show for like a couple bucks a month, get exclusive content, you can do that, or you can try it out for free. Promo code Tommy. Or if you don't want to do that, I do have the merch store back up. That was up very early in the podcast for the original listeners. That's back up. If you want to get something in return for your money, shocker, you can go buy like a shirt or something and support the show. But enough of those selfish plugs. Miss Clare Lopez, it's been a while since we have chatted. I know that you have been traveling all around the world, international woman, and kind of two ideas to go by today is either Iran, Israel, or the Restrict Act about TikTok, which I think General Spalding tweeted about this morning, saying that this is a very dangerous Trojan horse.
Mm.
Could you maybe elaborate on that?
Yeah, so very glad to be back with you, Tommy, of course, anytime and as often as we can do it.
Yes, ma'am.
I did miss that tweet if he did it from General Robert Spalding this morning, but if he said it, I take it to the bank, basically.
Yeah.
What we're talking about here is this bill. It's called the Restrict Act, and that is an acronym. I've got to look at the full expansion. Restricting the emergence of security threats that risk information and communications technology act. That is the full expansion of the acronym, the Restrict Act. It is a bill in the Senate proposed by Senator Mark Warner, who is from my state of Virginia, actually. But it's got quite a number of co-sponsors, at least listed. Now, if anybody watched Tucker Carlson last night, they might have seen his interview with Senator Lindsey Graham, who seemed taken aback that his name is actually on the list of co-sponsors. He apparently didn't know that, so he probably was having some good discussions today with his staff. But I think along the lines of what General Spalding maybe he tweeted today, Senator Lindsey Graham could do a great deal of good for himself and the country if he publicly took the steps to remove his name from the list of co-sponsors, because I also think that this is a dangerous bill that proposes a massive literally police state overreach by the government.
It is, and it's always in the wake of something, be it the USA Patriot Act, the renewal of it. Emergencies never leave. I mean, the fact that they removed the coronavirus emergency is impressive in itself, but that was also never really an emergency. And I understand the kind of gray area around TikTok. We are a free society. We can do all this stuff. And then is it, what is Chinese spyware, but it's not simply removing TikTok. It's
No, and I mean, in fact, if you read the language of this particular bill, which
it's
you
insane.
can find online, it doesn't even mention TikTok
Okay.
per se, or
Okay.
its parent organization, ByteDance, which has those close relationships with the Chinese Communist Party. Not even in the bill, but a whole lot of other provisions are in the bill.
Well, so it's, I mean, again, if you go back to 2001, and then we're looking at like the Patriot Act, we're looking at the formation of the Department of Homeland Security, we're looking at all these apparatuses under it. And I've had on twice now, Robert Spencer of Jihad Watch on Twitter, and I didn't know this. He used to advise the FBI. He's I guess a Muslim or Islam expert. He would advise
He's
them.
an expert, absolute top expert on Islam, Islamic law, or Sharia. One of the top people in the country.
And so he actually
Absolutely.
worked as like an independent contractor. They'd bring him in to
Yes.
profile who are we looking for at the
Mm-hmm.
mosques or at the airports or whatever. They have now under, I believe, John Brennan, CIA Director John Brennan under the Obama administration, they removed all of his expertise on how to spot, but they
Yeah,
kept
no, I
the
mean, it wasn't just him. It was Robert Spencer. It was Bill Warner. It was Bill Gothrop. It was Steve Coughlin. Many people who formerly were expert advisors to the national security organizations, agencies of the country were kicked out in what we've come to know and call the Great Purge. That's what
Mm.
we called it.
And what Mr. Spencer has pointed out is that they have removed the filling of Islamist fundamentalism, but they've kept the apparatus of terrorism, fill in the blanks, and it's now being targeted at, people that use the word patriot or have the Gadsden flag or for Pro 2A. So the point of this is the teeth still stay. So this idea of we're going to stop whatever the restrict acronym euphemism is, make no mistake, it will be will be there will be another equivalent of coronavirus, not necessarily a pandemic, but there will be something where they will crack down on misinformation. And instead of me getting banned from YouTube or Miss Lopez being shadow banned or Joe Rogan being attacked, it will now be codified. It will now be shifted into the
Yeah,
Overton window of this is a threat. So you cannot. I mean, the quote is all this time. You cannot trade safety, or you cannot trade liberty for safety because you'll get neither, and you deserve neither.
exactly. And just to expand a little bit for folks listening and watching, perhaps about this restrict bill, which still is in the bill stage. It's not progressed any further yet in the Senate. Um, but what it's about is giving the United States government enormous expanded control over criminalizing activity on the internet. In a nutshell, that's what it does. And with the provision of draconian punishments, uh, 20 years in
Jail
prison,
time, prison, yeah.
fines of $1 million or, whatever. Um, and the language of the bill itself is so overbroad that it's intended to provide practically carte blanche for the Commerce Department, by the way, is being put in charge of this, the Commerce
Oh, great.
Department,
Great.
um, but to describe any kind of internet activity that they can say, make the case that, or not even make the case, but just accuse someone of, um, entering into any transaction, it says, in which an entity described in subparagraph B has any interest. And those entities are foreign adversaries, as they say, an entity subject to the jurisdiction of or organized under the laws of a foreign adversary, an entity owned, directed, or controlled by either of these, any foreign government or regime that the Secretary of Commerce deems a national security threat with no other input necessary, just from the Department of Commerce and the Commerce Secretary. Um, it's it says, and here's what could subject someone to penalties. No person may cause or aid, abet, counsel, command, induce, procure, permit, or approve the doing of any act prohibited by, omission of any act required by, any regulation, order, direction, mitigation, member, prohibition, or other authorization or directive issued under this act. No person may solicit or attempt a violation, and no person may engage in any transaction or take any other action with intent to evade the provisions of this act. So theoretically, at least, someone using a VPN could be accused of attempting to evade provisions of the act. I mean, you can see by the language I've just cited, it's incredibly broad in scope. This bill, and I think perhaps maybe at the beginning people did not realize that this was not just a bill like an alternative one promoted earlier or put forth earlier by Senator Josh Hawley, which was aimed at TikTok and its parent company ByteDance. This one, as I said, doesn't even mention TikTok or ByteDance, but the language you heard is just it's the scope is immense, and if this authority were given over to the United States government, freedom of speech and the internet would be completely destroyed.
And it will not come back. It will no longer be that if you post a meme on Instagram about the COVID vaccine that you get a little banner under it that says, "The COVID vaccine is safe and effective." There'll be a knock at the door and say, "Mr. Carrigan, would you please come with us?" Or, "I'm
Well,
sorry, I
I
need a
mean,
lawyer."
after the example of what we are now learning went on over the last couple of years, thank you to Elon Musk for buying Twitter and releasing the so-called Twitter
Twitter files,
files,
Matt Taibbi, yeah.
um, Matt Taibbi and Barry Weiss and others. Um, Thanks to that, we now know to what lengths of illegality, unconstitutionality, the US government is willing to go
And
to suppress speech that it doesn't want expressed.
And those claims without those Twitter files, so for like the past couple of years, we've all been assuming, I know I have on this podcast, and I've always, I think, maybe I'm defending myself. I think I've always said we need evidence for extraordinary claims, but I vividly remember sometime in like late 2021 saying we're gonna find out one day that the FBI or Pfizer has a direct link through Twitter, blah, and so it did come out. But imagine then, under this act, not only would my talking about ivermectin be misinformation, that claim would be misinformation. It would never come out. And then there would be the deterrence effect of, yeah, man, did you hear about Tommy? Yeah, dude, you got fined $1 million. You have to shut down his podcast, dude. His parents are trying to bail him out of jail. No one would even come close to it. Right now, the threat is right now, we're seeing people we're seeing their spines turn into wet noodles, and we have seen it over the last 3 years when the threat has simply been, I don't want to be delisted or shadow banned or
Mhm,
gasp
mhm.
removed.
Yes.
Imagine when you don't have to have the backbone to get banned from YouTube. Imagine when it's some Gestapo showing up at your door or your central bank digital currency being frozen. If we can't survive the last 3 years, which we we escaped full medical tyranny by a hair. The bullet grazed our collective heads. They're coming at it again. And instead of being a fishing net, they want it to be a bear trap. If it doesn't, and I know it's the same kind of tired statement, but I mean, if we don't stop this thing now, there is no going back. It's done. Discussion's done. There will be no formation. There will be no collection. There will be no organization of thought. It'll be all be the idea of it itself will be illegal to even resist it. It's
I
like
mean, it's Orwellian.
the jail cell's
It's
closing. Like throw your body at the
84 on
door.
steroids.
Yeah.
Um, so hopefully, between Tucker Carlson and you, Tommy, thank you, and others who are,
Do what I
speaking
can.
out
I
and
do what I can.
explaining what is actually in this proposed this bill, this proposed act, um, that enough senators, including that there's like a dozen or so Republicans on that list of co-sponsors. Now, again, maybe their staffs put their names on there. Senator Graham did not seem to even realize that his name was on the list last night on Tucker.
Hmm.
But now that they know what is in this bill and perhaps have found out maybe for the first time that their name is on the list of co-sponsors, that all of this taken together will urge them to withdraw their names from co-sponsors and to stand against the bill, and maybe some Democrats do.
And when will it be considered hate speech to support Donald Trump or Ron DeSantis? I mean, that
Well,
is
I
the
mean,
pattern
if
of world history.
yeah,
Attack the political opponent.
in the wording of the bill, if aiding, abetting, supporting any of these aforementioned names could be connected with, well, Russia, there you go. Um, and it doesn't need any corroboration, any form of legal process. And oh, by the way, where did I see this? Oh, yeah, the processes and actions taken under the bill would be exempt from the Freedom of Information Act, FOIA,
Ah, there we go.
meaning that you couldn't even, as a citizen, ask what's going on. What did you do? What was the basis? What's behind this?
It's so safe that you don't even need to be able to look at it. Don't worry, guys. It's so transparent that you don't need to look at it. That's how safe it is. And if you don't think that these things, so by the Commerce Department, all right, well, if we've seen how heavily the state apparatus has taken the side of Moderna, Pfizer, AstraZeneca, Johnson and Johnson, Eli Lilly, all these to stomp out any effective, generic, cheap, safe alternative, ivermectin, vitamin D, quercetin, whatever, zinc. What makes you think that this won't happen again? Maybe Elon Musk, he's straying from the party line. Well, how long until, I don't know, there's some GM lobbying to somebody in control of this thing that says, oh, how about we start like delisting Tesla memes or Elon Musk, or maybe you can't send a text if it's a pro, Starlink meme. How long until that happens, or anything? Or I mean, it might not even be that. It's just get rid of
There's
Apple
no due
users.
process. There's no
No,
due process, and there's no route, for citizen inquiry or redress. That's probably the scariest part of the whole bill. Um, and I don't think that's the way we want to go.
the only way to look at bills, at least what I've learned in my short 32 years on this earth, is to look at them and imagine that the person the party or politician you hate is in control. So I liked Trump, right? So I would have almost certainly have blind spots when criticizing him, right? My own cognitive dissonance. But let's look at, so someone might be, they hate Trump so much and love Biden so much, which is fine. You're free to make your own opinions. But let's say you look at the Disinformation Governance Board. Don't look at that in the eyes of today. Look at it in the eyes of Donald Trump sworn into office and he is in control of the What is your gut feeling when you hear that? Right? So when you hear that this is going on, anyone that's cheering it on because Trump's an orange man, okay, pretend that he gets sworn in on January 20th, 2025, and the Restrict Act is in place. What is your gut feeling then? What is the first thing that, almost kind of like therapy, show them the Rorschach. How do you feel? How do you feel? And it's the same thing. And I'm glad to see some people are keeping their heads when, there's a lot of memes going around or videos on Twitter of, the transsexual movement holding weapons, saying like, don't tread on us. And there are, and I'm happy to see a lot of my conservative ex-military friends are saying, don't take the bait. They are entitled to a weapon, no different than you are. And it's hard to say that. It's hard to keep calm in the wake of a shooting where, a transitioning woman shot a bunch of Christian kids. That's terrible. But I am happy to see people saying, don't take the bait. They are entitled to weapons too. Members of BLM and members of Proud Boys, we're all entitled to this. Don't let the state pit you against one another. So the same thing, when you see a Restrict Act and you cheer it on, you go, yeah, let's take down TikTok. Imagine that the person you hate the most is in,
Now
imagine.
has this power
Exactly. Imagine, or if you hate someone more than Trump, imagine Donald Trump Jr. gets elected and his vice president is
someday.
whoever, Carrie Lake, whatever. Imagine that. And if you're conservative and you're going, we should get rid of TikTok, imagine Kamala comes to power. Are you happy with her having the Restrict Act and the Disinformation Governance Board? If you're okay with the person you hate the most having this power, then that's okay. But if you're not, then ultimately acknowledge that they will have this power. You are building it for them. I'll end my little soapbox rant.
No, you're absolutely right. And I agree with everything you just said. Think of these powers in the hands of those whom you oppose,
Hmm,
those whom you think of as even, the enemy.
sure.
Uh, and if you're okay with that party or that group of people having this power, then okay. But if it's not the kind of powers that you would want in the hands of your enemies, then maybe it's not such a good idea right now either.
It's, yeah, if it's a relatively vanilla bill where it's like after those Samsung Galaxy phones were catching fires on planes back in like 2015 or 2016, and now like you have to, they have to go through the TSA thing. And if you mail something, if you get something from Amazon, like I just got some batteries the other day, and it has a big sticker on it and says it contains lithium
Hmm.
battery.
Hmm.
Are you okay with the opposite party? Yeah, that seems like a pretty, yeah. I would imagine we should probably label things that have lithium batteries if they are exploding. That's fine. Be careful when it comes to something like this.
Now, I would make the point here. Maybe this is the place for it, as I'm looking at the time here.
Oh yeah.
Um, that TikTok, because its parent company ByteDance is very close to, owned by, accountable to the Chinese Communist Party, and because the TikTok app on your devices um, openly, in the terms of service, announces that it can scoop up, uh, hoover up, vacuum up all the data and information, contact list, photos, texts, anything on your device. And because we know that every company that is doing business in China, whether Chinese or affiliated with the Chinese Communist Party, Chinese companies obligated to provide to the Chinese MSS, Ministry of State Security Service, anything they ever ask for. That's an obligation of the state of China. Um, and then if you think about the fact that it is not just a pull out the data from your device, but it's a push also into whatever device that is, especially for the young folks.
Mm,
150 million Americans with the app, many of them young people. Um, the push part is the pushing of propaganda.
yeah.
It's the pushing of information operations designed to shape thinking. Um, and that same content, by the way, is not the same content as on the TikTok platform that's permitted inside of China. It's especially tailored for the American audience, especially the impressionable young American audience.
Mm,
Over a period of time, getting addicted to it, you think it's cute panda bears and dancing kittens. Okay, great. But along the line, they're psychologically profiling the usage of that app, and then designing and pushing into the user's device content that they think, the Chinese Communist Party thinks, the Ministry of State Security thinks, will influence their thinking um, over a period of time. And that is what's dangerous about TikTok.
in General Spaulding's most recent book, War Without Rules, and I was lucky
Hmm.
enough to have him on here. He has several great lines that he kind of keeps going back to in the book. So he was a B-2 Spirit stealth bomber pilot. Those things are,
Yeah.
I mean, you ever seen an alien looking plane? Forget the SR-71. That thing is just another otherworldly. But other point is fly, in night in a ghost plane with a megaton warhead on it. And he would talk about how you train for this and you'd be in this $2 billion sexy black ops bomber flying 9,000 miles. And he goes, what they're doing with apps on your phone is far more effective, has a much small, we brag about in Desert Storm how we could hit targets within 2 meters. And he's like, they're hitting you within like 2 nanometers. They know exactly what they're doing, and they're doing it for free. And he was like,
Yeah,
you need
he's
to
he's
understand
absolutely right.
this. He's like, make no mistake, this is no different than a stealth bomber. It's in your living room.
Exactly. I really would recommend those two books that he's now
Stealth
written
War and
since
War
leaving
Without
the
Rules.
military. I've read
God,
both of them, and they're excellent.
he's the best.
Retired General Robert Spalding, excellent, excellent insights and understanding
He's the
of China.
best. Intimidating guy to interview. If I've ever honestly, people have asked me like, do you ever get nervous about podcasts? Very rarely. He is the only person who both times I have left there feeling like I was not totally in control. I guess
That's
that's why you're in
impressive.
general.
He absolutely knows what he's talking about.
I told my mom that she was like, I wish you would warm up to you. And I told her, I was like, you know what? I like it because that gives me a little more peace. I'm like, that's what a general should be. I shouldn't
Mm.
be able to schmooze you. You should be able to come on Tommy's podcast and not fall for my charismatic bullshit. You should be able to look right through me and see me as a threat. I want that in a general. If I had him laughing and yucking with me, I'd be like, we're so screwed. He just stared through me and I was like, good.
Uh-oh.
I was like,
Okay.
good. I was like, good. No, you're already compromised. You're already compromised, Claire. You already shown your
Oh,
hand.
I'm
You're done.
finished.
You're already compromised. No, yeah, no, you can't keep the straight face. I like that he just stares, and I'm like, that makes me scared, but it makes me feel a little more safe. I'm like, that's what a general should be. You shouldn't fall for
Mhm.
me, because if you fall for me, we're done for. Um, but Ms. Lopez, as I told you beforehand, what
Okay.
time is it? Yeah, we do got to wrap this one up. I know this is a short episode. Sorry, everybody. We should be back to, I would imagine, our regularly scheduled programming, normally Thursdays, 2 p.m. Eastern. In the description are links to your writings, your Twitter, all that good stuff. Go follow the great Claire Lopez. And yeah, again, I think the takeaway from this is, and not just the Restrict Act, in general, with anything, are you okay with what's going on? Do you criticize the defense budget under Trump, but not under Biden? Do you criticize stimulus under Biden, but not under Trump? Just try to remove the lens of who do I like and who do I hate, and go, am I okay with a banana being in the hands of someone I hate? Yes, because it's a banana. Am I okay with them having a shotgun in my house? Probably not. Just,
No, good advice.
it's a general, I think, fair way to look. Remove the blinders of left, right, Republican, Democrat. Just, are you okay with this? And that's my 2 cents. Not that anybody asked, but Miss Claire Lopez, let's wrap this one up, guys. Please go follow her on Twitter. Um, yeah, or follow me. Maybe I should plug my own Twitter. Follow me on Twitter. Um, but Miss Lopez, thank you so much. We got to wrap this one up
Thank
before I keep
you.
talking, because
Thank you and
literally,
everybody.
yes, ma'am. We will.
Catch
I
you
hope.
next time.
Yes, ma'am. I hope we will resume next week. Oh, and we will get into Iran Israel next week. I forgot. I'm sorry. All right. Thank you so much, Miss Claire Lopez. Thank you. Till next week. Thank you, everybody.